Brock Lesnar accepts Cody Rhodes' SummerSlam challenge. However, there could be a stipulation added to the match later on this summer. Speaking of SummerSlam, the World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line as Seth Rollins defends against Finn Balor after their match was confirmed last night on Monday Night Raw. Ronda Rousey has challenged SHAYNA BASZLER to a match at SummerSlam, and it could be Rousey's last match in WWE. Brand new Women's Tag Team Champions were crowned last night on Monday Night Raw. Speaking of tag titles, the tag titles were retained by Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Nash, once again, has been talking about his recent criticism of LA Knight. Becky Lynch could end up getting a TRISH STRATUS tattoo if she loses a match against Zoe Stark next week, but if she wins, she's going to be getting a rematch against the WWE Hall of Famer. We have the ratings for last Friday's episode of SmackDown on Fox, an update on the injury possibly suffered by Bayley this weekend at a live event. Are there any plans for The Rock to face off against Grayson Waller on WWE television? Could possibly Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar be missing Fastlane? Also an update on a new nickname, a possible new nickname for Bronson Reed. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about Brock Lesnar and Cody Rhodes. Their match is now official for SummerSlam. It's going to be the American Nightmare versus the Beast Incarnate. On Monday night, Brock Lesnar wasted little time in giving Cody Rhodes his answer. Unfortunately for the American Nightmare, it happened right in front of his own mother. Georgia Boy himself. Raw kicked off with Cody Rhodes getting plenty of love from the Atlanta crowd, and the Atlanta, Georgia faithful was given plenty back by Cody Rhodes himself. After praising his mother for turning him into the fighter we all see before us, his attention turned to the Beast Incarnate. Once he was done speaking, Brock Lesnar's music hit, but there was no man to speak of. As Rhodes made his way up the entrance ramp, the music hit again, and upon going through the curtain, he was struck with a steel chair by the former Universal Champion. Lesnar proceeded to beat Rhodes back down the ramp before delivering an F5 and a Kimura lock to him right in front of his own mother. He locked in the Kimura lock once again while they were in the ring, smiling at Cody's mother all the while before finally accepting his challenge. After tasting defeat at Backlash in May, Brock evened the score via a referee stoppage later that month at Night of Champions. Now on August 5th, their feud will be settled once and for all. Before going gently into the good night though, the mayor of Suplex City had a simple message, quote, "I'll see you at SummerSlam, bitch." Now, a lot of people are saying, wow, with this trilogy, isn't it going to get a stipulation? Well, certainly that appears to be the plan. With the stakes high and the record currently at 1-1, details for their upcoming match at SummerSlam have emerged. According to WRKD Wrestling, even though it was announced as such on Raw last night, the match won't be a straightforward singles match. They have stated, quote, "While not announced on Raw, a stipulation will be added to Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam." As I mentioned, it's been rumored this could possibly be a Texas death match, or it could be a bull rope match or something of those natures. We'll have to wait and see indeed what it is. Nevertheless, it's going to be a brutal and maybe bloody affair. Now, speaking of Cody Rhodes as well, a new documentary on the American Nightmare is set to debut on Peacock very soon. Unfiltered, unedited, untouchable. Those are the three words being chosen for the soon-to-be-released WWE documentary, American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes, which now has a premiere date of July 31st on Peacock. The official trailer, released Monday morning, takes fans through his journey with WWE, but not without the bumps he experienced along the way, including being repackaged as Stardust years ago and straying from his family's rich wrestling legacy. How do you not let him call himself Cody Rhodes? That makes sense, ponders Ric Flair in the documentary. The trailer also gives us a taste of Cody Rhodes' journey to find himself both outside of his late father's shadow and outside of WWE too. As his wife Brandy remarks, "If you build it, they will come." That took him to the independent circuit and later Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, along his way to being an integral piece of creating AEW as an executive vice president. While there were no indications yet in this early look, it'll be interesting to see if any of those outside wrestling promotions are referenced or acknowledged in the documentary to accurately tell the tale of Rhodes' winding path back to the WWE. American Nightmare Becoming Cody Rhodes will also feature interview clips from the likes of The Undertaker, WWE's Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque, and his good friend Kevin Owens. It's the latter who states the fact, quote, Vince McMahon flew to his house to get him back. I don't know how many people can say they did that. Since returning to the company in April of last year at WrestleMania 38, Rhodes has made quite an impact and then some, fully embracing his identity as the American Nightmare on a grander scale than ever before, while firmly establishing himself as a bona fide main eventer in WWE after all these years. So once that documentary comes out, we'll do a review or a watch along or something like that. It should be a really interesting piece. The World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line at the biggest event of the summer. Seth Rollins is going to be defending his title against Finn Balor. It is official. At SummerSlam on August 5th, Finn Balor will get another crack at Seth Rollins and his World Heavyweight Championship, though getting to this point has been anything but smooth for either superstar. But after another heated confrontation between the two Monday nights on Raw, there was only one way to go, and there's only one way this was ever going to go. Balor's issues with Rollins dates back nearly 7 years when, at the very same SummerSlam event, the Demon defeated the Visionary to become the first ever WWE Universal Champion. Unfortunately, Balor's shoulder was seriously injured in the process, and he was forced to relinquish his newly won title the very next night on Raw. In recent months, the rivalry between the two has been reignited, yet at every turn, Balor has been denied. He could have qualified for the World Heavyweight Championship final against AJ Styles at Night of Champions, but he missed out on the spot after losing to the very same Seth Rollins. He then looked very much in control during their match at Money in the Bank, only to get distracted by his Judgment Day cohort Damian Priest in the closing stages. But after demanding a rematch Monday night and attacking Rollins during a backstage interview afterwards, we've got ourselves another match between the two set for Detroit, Michigan for the World Heavyweight Championship. What are your thoughts on Rollins versus Balor once again for the world title at SummerSlam? Ronda Rousey, she may also have a match at SummerSlam. It could be her last in WWE. Ronda Rousey is done talking and she's ready to settle her differences with Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam after being betrayed at Money in the Bank. Following another squash courtesy of the Queen of Spades on Raw, this time at the expense of Nikki Cross, the baddest woman on the planet was on hand to immediately exclaim, "And the crowd goes mild." The former friends had a heated exchange, with Baszler labeling herself a better Ronda Rousey before demanding they settle their differences right then and there in the middle of the ring in Atlanta, Georgia. Rousey, meanwhile, she had other ideas, deciding to kick back and relax from her box above. Baszler wasn't satisfied in the slightest before deciding to hop the barricade, but she was swiftly stopped by security. It was then the former Raw Women's Champion had an idea, when she decided to dress up as a favor to her old pal. Quote, "I'm finally going to get you booked on SummerSlam," she quipped. "You me, I'll see you in the Motor City, bitch." So that match seemingly is confirmed for SummerSlam later on this summer in August. We have brand new Women's Tag Team Champions as well after Monday Night Raw last night. For the second time in 2 weeks, we have new Women's Tag Team Champions. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green defeated Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to become the brand new Women's Tag Team Champions last night on Monday Night Raw. Previously, the same night, the Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley attacked Morgan and Rodriguez in a backstage interview segment, leaving Rodriguez with an injured knee. Rodriguez told Adam Pearce she was good to defend the championships after being evaluated in the back and cleared to wrestle. Deville and Green started off the match hot against Morgan. At one point in the match when both women were legal, Deville got Rodriguez in a half Boston crab, further damaging her injured knee. Eventually, after a hot tag on both sides, Morgan had Green down for the pin when Deville cracked Morgan in the face with a running knee to break it up. Deville then took out Rodriguez on the outside, targeting her knee, and hit Morgan also from the outside as well, allowing Green to hit her Unpretty Her finisher. Morgan surprisingly kicked out, and it ultimately took another Unpretty Her, followed by another knee from Deville to deliver the titles. Rodriguez and Morgan had just won the bouts for the second time 16 days ago, defeating the aforementioned Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler at Money in the Bank on July 1st after Baszler turned on her supposed best friend. The championship has been bouncing around WWE lately, with Green and Deville representing the 5th pair of new champions since Damage Control, who lost the titles earlier this year in February. So what are your thoughts on Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville being the brand new Women's Tag Team Champions? Speaking of tag team titles, they were also on the line from the men's point of view last night. The Judgment Day has been giving undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens grief for weeks. But in the main event of Raw Monday night, a couple of outsiders evened the odds, which in the process helped the lifelong friends retain their championships in a battle with Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio. While this was a back and forth slugfest from the bell, things heated up before the match even started, as World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins appeared from out of nowhere to attack Finn Balor and effectively take him out of the equation. him. Yet, in the closing stages, the numbers were still on the Judgment Day side when Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley got involved, sending Owens into the steel steps into the process. Amidst all of the commotion, Dom almost managed to steal one by catching ZAYN with a roll-up, and when Ripley attempted to get involved again, Liv Morgan suddenly appeared and evened the odds, eventually sending Mammy over the barricade as payback for essentially costing her and Raquel Rodriguez the Women's Tag Team Championships with a backstage attack earlier on in the evening. With order restored, ZAYN hit Mysterio with an exploder suplex to set up a haluva kick, and despite initially being intercepted by Priest, Owens hit him with a stunner as ZAYN connected on Dirty Dom to seal the victory. So the tag team titles aren't going nowhere, at least for now. Kevin Nash has opened up about his recent back and forth regarding LA Knight. Yeah, Kevin Nash is no stranger to causing a bit of a stir in the wrestling business, is he? And he did it again over the last few weeks when he commented on WWE superstar LA Knight, who is currently in the middle of receiving significant support from the WWE audience. Initially referring to Knight as a ripoff of The Rock, Nash later doubled down on his criticism, stating he felt Knight's character was a rib at first, while questioning why he didn't get over elsewhere prior to now, seemingly unaware of Knight's successful stint as Eli Drake as the world champion in Impact Wrestling. Now, however, Nash becomes more familiar with Knight's work. He has since softened his stance, as he revealed on the latest episode of the Click This podcast. Quote, "I actually watched him," Nash said. "I didn't know much about the guy, so I watched some clips, and I'll say he's a good hand. The one thing, and this is probably the most important thing, is he has some high impact finishing moves, and he really does an excellent job of always, not occasionally, not even 50% of the time, always making sure he tucks that person's head and lays them flat. He looks like he's strong. I always look at it like, okay, can I have a match with this guy in my prime? I'm like, hell yeah, he would have laid me flat. I could have had a good match with him. I wasn't dogging him. I never saw him as Eli Drake. I didn't see him as that. I didn't see him in NXT. Knight's popularity has been growing steadily since he was returned to his initial name and character under the Paul Levesque creative regime. He got a massive response from the crowd in London at Money in the Bank and is currently in the middle of a tournament to crown a new #1 contender for the United States Championship on SmackDown. In fact, the show on which Knight performs seems to have contributed to Nash's lack of knowledge. Quote, "I don't watch SmackDown," he said. "So, dude, I didn't know who the F you were, and I apologize." So Kevin Nash seemingly apologizing once and for all, and is now a member of the Yeah movement. Trish Stratus, she might be having a tattoo placed on the chest of Becky Lynch. A high-stakes match between Becky Lynch and Zoe Stark is set for next week's Raw. As per the stipulation, if Lynch loses, she'll be forced to get a tattoo of Trish Stratus. If she wins, Lynch gets her much-anticipated rematch against Stratus, presumably at the upcoming SummerSlam Premium Live event. The unique stipulation bout was set up during last night's Raw, where The Miz, during a segment of Miz TV, reminded Lynch of her recent losing woes, questioning if the man had lost a step. The question annoyed Lynch to the point where she started throwing around chairs and threatened to beat up the A-lister and his tiny balls. At this point, Stratus and her protege Zoe Stark would confront Lynch and explain why they had no intention of continuing their rivalry, pointing out how Stratus had already defeated Lynch at Night of Champions back in May. Ultimately, Stratus would accept Lynch's challenge for a rematch, but without not a small caveat. "I'm going to need you to tattoo 'Thank you, Trish' across your chest," Stratus told Lynch as she laid out the stipulation for next week's match. "Done," Lynch responded without any hesitation. The segment went off the air with Lynch nailing both Stratus and Stark with punches and standing tall, much to the delight of fans at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. WWE has confirmed the Lynch vs. Stark match for next week's show. Also, it will feature the return of Logan Paul, a face-to-face confrontation between Gunther and Drew McIntyre, and much, much, much more. So could possibly Becky Lynch get a tattoo across her chest, or are we getting a SummerSlam match set up next week? Let's talk about the ratings for SmackDown this past Friday. Of course, the ratings for SmackDown recently have been absolutely ginormous. On July 7, SmackDown popped a huge rating, the best in years, for the show featuring the Tribal Court segment with former Bloodline members, marking what's believed to be the first time a pro wrestling show has been #1 for the week on all of television. On July 14, how did the show do with that momentum, but without Roman Reigns? According to reports from SpoilerTV.com, Pro Wrestling Torch, and WrestleNomics on both their Twitter and Patreon Patreon pages, the July 14 show averaged 2.309 million viewers across its 2 hours, which is down about 10% from the previous week. Approximately 811,000 of which were in the key demographic most valued by advertisers, adults aged 18 to 49, which is approximately down 15% from the week prior to. The latter figure translates to a 0.62 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, making it far and away the top show in prime time on broadcast television on Friday. Both numbers were in line with the average of the prior 10 weeks, which was 2.320 million viewers and a 0.61 rating in the 18 to 49 demo. The Torch also reports that men aged 18 to 49, the audience held up completely from the Tribal Court show, doing an identical 0.76 rating. That translates to approximately 588,000 viewers. On the one hand, that's very good news in and of itself. On the other hand, that means women aged 18 to 49 saw an incredibly sharp drop week over week of approximately 44%. Your mileage may vary as to whether or not the inference to be drawn is that female audience is mainly tuning in for the major bloodline angles. That's up to your interpretation. So certainly, SmackDown still doing a good number, but down from the week prior. But again, that's not too much of a surprise, really, considering that it was a big show, hyped up Madison Square Garden. There was a lot of promotion going into it. A bit of an update when it comes to Bayley. Of course, we spoke yesterday about Bayley possibly suffering an injury over the weekend. Now, this actually happened during a live event in Salisbury on July 16. Now, during a four-way bout with Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Bianca Belair for the Women's Championship, the role model went down grabbing her knee when referee Jessica Carr put up her arms in an X formation to signify an injury. Bayley was assisted by WWE officials and trainers to the back and was seen on crutches leaving the arena afterwards. Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful Select, provided an update noting that WWE sources said they'd likely wait for the swelling to go down before finding out what was wrong with Bayley's knee. However, the former two-time SmackDown Women's Champion leaving on crutches was seen as a good sign. Of course, if we get any more information on Bayley and her status, we'll let you know in the future. Now, some had speculated we could be getting something involving The Rock and Grayson Waller at some point on WWE TV, particularly because he had referenced him on social media and he has a talk show, The Grayson Waller Effect. So will we going to be seeing something like that in the future? Well, it appears that's quite unlikely. Grayson Waller has already received quite a push since he was called up to the SmackDown brand in the draft back in April. He's rubbed shoulders with the likes of Logan Paul, John Cena. He had his in-ring debut against Edge at Madison Square Garden. After the match, Waller took to Twitter where he made fun of The Rock's debut attire, claiming that his debut in MSG was better than that of the Great One. This sparked a back and forth between Waller and The Rock, with speculation that the two could work a match or a segment together now that The Rock's going to have much more of a free schedule due to the ongoing Hollywood actor and writer strike. But in an update from Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp said despite the online interactions, there's said to be no working plans involving The Rock and Grayson Waller, so as of right now, that's very unlikely that that's going to happen. Fastlane is an event coming up later this year, but it looks like, as of right now, it could be without Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. A new image has popped up to advertise the upcoming Fastlane Premium Live event, which is taking place on October 7, 2023. While the event is still months away, there's been no confirmation as to what matches we'll see at the show. That falls after Payback on the Premium Live event calendar. However, this new image has given us an indication that maybe, just maybe, there'll be no Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. As you can see on the screen right now, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Bobby Lashley, Rhea Ripley, Seth Rollins, Bianca Belair, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes are all advertised and actually front and center on the poster, but no Brock Lesnar and no Roman Reigns, leading some to suggest maybe they could be off the show considering they both have part-time roles in WWE. Finally, Bronson Reed, he's got a new nickname, as do a lot of people in WWE at the moment. This small nickname trend continues. On last night's Raw, another interesting new moniker debuted on a match graphic for an upcoming match. Over recent weeks, WWE has made a specific point, add some new nicknames to its graphics, such as The Ring, General, Gunther, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, and Badass Bron Breakker. Ahead of the match between Shinsuke Nakamura and Bronson Reed last night, the trend continued as the latter had an additional nickname added to his graphic that you can see. He's big. Bronson Reed is Big Bronson Reed. Now, this certainly seems to be something WWE's latched on to for doing some kind of branding and marketing reasons, and while there's no confirmation on who's behind it, it has coincided with the growth of Vince McMahon's influence on creative. Is it a Vince McMahon move? I'll leave that up to you to decide. But there you go, guys. It's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.